Proglašavam druga Josipa Broza Tita za predsjednika Republike bez ograničenja trajanja mandata.
Ja ću se boriti za zaštitu suverenosti, nezavisnosti i integriteta zemlje te za ostvarivanje vlasti radničke klase i svih radnih ljudi. Ja ću se zalagati za ostvarivanje...
The offensive was launched to force Serbian troops out of the province of Kosovo after accusations that the Serbs were committing atrocities against the ethnic Albanians. A decade on, Serbia is a country still wrestling with its past, as Jane Azzopardi reports.
The first bombing of its kind in NATO history. On March 24, 1999, Western nations carried out their threat against Serbia and began the biggest military conflict on Serbian soil since World War II. NATO saw the war as the only way to end President Slobodan Milosevic's violent crackdown in Kosovo, where his Serb nationalist forces were accused of ethnic cleansing against Kosovo's largely Muslim ethnic Albanian population.
As an interpreter for Dutch peacekeepers there.
The fate of the Bosnian Muslims is actually a rallying cry today, or a rallying point for extreme right-wing violent extremists. These are some of the wider ramifications of the denial of Bosnian genocide, and they have come home to roost.
At Srebrenica, they are still burying the dead. It has taken 25 years to find and identify some of the victims. About 1,000 are still missing, and the survivors live in a world where some still say it's all been exaggerated or never happened at all. Alan Little, BBC News.
Očigledno je da je došlo do velikih razlika u izvještavanju. Oni sa tim nisu mogli da se pomire i oni su bombardovali istinu. Ja mislim da ovdje nije bombardovan samo RTS, ovdje je bombardovan i vaš rad, ovdje je bombardovana i Europa. To je jedan primitivan akt da se na godišnjicu ili na jubilej uzme nekoliko skalpova koji je ostao kao tradicija iz prošlog veka.
More than 20 years after the war in Kosovo ended, the bodies of missing victims are still being discovered. In 2020, a new mass grave was confirmed in Kiševac, Serbia, less than a 20-kilometer drive from the border with Kosovo. The discovery is the fifth site containing such mass graves from the Kosovo War to have been located in Serbia. But how is it that over 2 decades after the war finished, bodies are only now being found? Between January 1998 and December 1999, more than 13,000 people were killed or disappeared in Kosovo during the war and its immediate aftermath. To this day, there are still more than 1,600 missing people for whom there is still no official record of what happened to them. Of those who died or disappeared, around 3,000 were military personnel, but over 10,000 were civilians. This includes almost 8,700 Albanians, 1,200 Serbs, and 450 Roma and other minorities. Official evidence from war crimes trials and field reports shows that not only were those in the highest positions of the Yugoslav regime responsible for orchestrating many of these crimes, but there was also a coordinated effort to dispose of the evidence. By the time of the war in Kosovo, Serbia's leaders already knew that mass graves were visible from the air, so they went to extra lengths to conceal their crimes. Many of the people who were murdered were buried in small graves and graveyards near the scenes of the crimes, making them hard for authorities to discover.
If you imagine, for example, that you are trying to hide a book, the easiest way for you is to run into a library put a book into a shelf, and then open it, right? So the person that was chasing you looking for a book, you have to go through all the books in the library until you find the book that you are trying to hide, right? So it's similar. The best way to hide a body is to go to a cemetery. It's full of bodies already, and then you place it between graves.
Other bodies were transferred en masse to different locations far away. To date, the remains of almost 1,000 Kosovar Albanians have been discovered in mass graves within Serbia. In many instances, victims of the same massacre were buried in different locations. In others, large mass graves were used for the victims of multiple crimes. Information about these deliberate attempts to hide evidence was first revealed in a Serbian Ministry of the Interior report in May 2001. The following month, excavations began at two Ministry of Interior sites, at Batajnica on the bank of the River Danube in Serbia's capital Belgrade, and at Petrovo Selo in the east of the country. Over the next 2 years, 8 mass graves were uncovered at the Batajnica site, containing the mortal remains of 744 Kosovar Albanians. All of the victims had been killed in a 2-month period between March and May 1999 in various locations around Kosovo. 309 of the victims buried here were from the largest massacre of the whole war, the Maya massacre, in which at least 348 civilians were killed. 2 mass graves were discovered at the Petrovo Selo site, containing the mortal remains of at least 61 victims from different massacres. 20 had been shot in the head in execution-style killings. In September 2001, a third site was excavated at Lake Haruchas, which contained the remains of 84 victims. Some were contained within a refrigerated truck.
Tribunali Haagës ka dëshmuar që trupat e marrë nga varrezat që kanë qenë në Kosovë, gjithandaj Kosovës, nga varrezat e prezident në vende tjera, një të organizuar është varros, shpesh edhe me asistencën e kompanive teknike, janë vendosur në kamion dhe janë dërguar në drejtim të Serbisë.
After those initial mass graves were discovered, the pace slowed down. It would take more than a decade to find another mass grave, this one in Rudnica, near the border with Kosovo, in December 2013. The remains of 52 bodies were subsequently discovered there in a disused quarry. The site had long been suspected of containing a mass grave, but previous efforts to locate it had failed. That's partly because a lot of the information used by authorities to locate mass graves is imprecise. It is often pieced together from various sources.
One of the ones that we use is what we call primary sources. Those are usually witnesses, right? That can be someone that is near the event when that happened. It could be someone that was working in the area, someone that is hiding far away, but he can see what's going on, right? It could be someone that escaped. Maybe if the killing is happening next to the mass grave, so someone is shooting people and they're dropping them on the grave, and someone managed to escape. We have different cases like this as well. And then they report to the authorities what they saw and where they saw it, right? Or you may have even sometimes perpetrators, someone that was either a collaborator or forced to collaborate.
Much of the information used to locate mass graves has come through witness testimony in war crimes trials, both at the ICTY in The Hague and the War Crimes Department of the District Court in Belgrade. But people's memories fade over time, and eyewitnesses also blank out particularly traumatic details. Authorities therefore cross-reference witness accounts with other sources such as field reports from agencies working on the ground during the war. The key to finally locating the mass grave at Kiševac recently, after years of searching, was aerial footage. Because the site was a quarry, there were often changes to the landscape due to the digging, while satellite images 20 years ago were much lower quality than those available today. But ULEX carried out a pixel-by-pixel comparison of Google Earth images over time, with satellite images taken back in 1999, and ultimately pinpointed the precise grave site. They then worked collaboratively with institutions in Kosovo, Serbia, and internationally to set about carefully excavating the site. After 22 days of painstaking examinations in May, authorities in Kosovo and Serbia confirmed that the bodily remains of 9 people had been discovered in the Kiševac grave.
So the next step is now, after the bodies are excavated, so they all have an autopsy, right? They all receive an autopsy, and DNA samples are taken. That usually bone fragments are taken, sent to a lab, in this case SMP, and now we have to wait for the results of the DNA. This can take usually 3 months, can be longer, depends how busy the labs are and so on, right? And after that, we identify the family. So there's a matching with the families that donated blood, and then each body will be identified. DNA is 99.99% effective. So usually when the DNA says that this person, it's usually, that's it, it's fully identified. And then the next step will be the handover to the families.
For many relatives of those still missing, the painful step of finally learning the fate of their loved ones at least marks some form of closure.
Sigurisht që ata ndjejnë dhimbje dhe sot do të ndjejnë gjithmonë, mirë po e kanë mbyllur atë kapitullin më të vështirë të jetës tyre, pra dhimbjen konstante për familjarët e tyre të zhdukur. Nëse vazhdojnë të jetojnë me atë agoninë, pa informacione të sakta se çka ka ndodhur me familjarët e tyre, dhimbja e tyre nuk do të shruhet kurrë dhe do të jetë në intensitet njëjtë sikur dhe në kalumen.
It is suspected that around 11 further mass graves from the war in Kosovo may still exist. The painstaking hunt to locate them goes on.
Russia is returning bodies of fallen defenders to Ukraine with missing internal organs. This may indicate that they are being used in Russia for transplantation, Ukrinform writes, citing words from relatives of the dead. The wife of one of the prisoners of war defenders of the Mariupol garrison stated that when the bodies of Ukrainian prisoners of war are returned from Russia, they show not only signs of torture. Some of the bodies are returned without internal organs. She said this during a meeting with the ambassador of Ukraine to Turkey, Vasil Bodnar. Today it is already known for sure that we receive bodies of those tortured from captivity. We receive not only tortured bodies, but bodies that unfortunately are without organs. That is, this confirms the fact that the black market for organ transplantation in the Russian Federation is working. And unfortunately it is working with our prisoners of war. Therefore, I